Hello, this is Mark from My Keys to Music. Thanks for joining me on this video. This is a Discovery Series video where we take a look at the song called Tom Sawyer from the rock group Rush. If you're brand new to the channel, I talk a lot about the Nord Stage 3 keyboard. I also talk about some of the other keyboards, and eventually we'll introduce more keyboards. But for now, we're talking about the Nord line of keyboards. This is the Stage 3, and in this tutorial or this training video, we're talking about learning the synth engine or the synthesizer engine portion of the Nord Stage 3. So with this particular song called Tom Sawyer, it's interesting because the opening note of this song is it changes over time. You'll hear Geddy Lee push that key on the keyboard, and the sound evolves and sort of filters itself out over time. And in order to do that sort of emulation on the Nord Stage 3, or any keyboard for that matter, you need to introduce something called frequency cutoff and modulation envelope, and you'll be using some resonance. And in this particular lesson, we're talking about a second oscillator and some effects. So all of that comes together to, fairly closely emulate that sound from the original keyboard, which, was created years ago. Here we are using a modern day Nord Stage 3, so it'll never be an exact replica of the sound, but it'll be pretty close and probably close enough for most ears. So if you're interested in this, what we'll do here in this video is we'll break the sound down in a great granularity. I'll show you really from scratch how I created this sound and how to emulate it. And if you follow along, by the end of it, you'll have this sound under your fingertips on your own Nord Stage 3, where you can appreciate it as I have here. All right, now this is part one of a two-part mini-series, if you will, where the second part of the video, or the second video, we will learn how to do the keyboard solo, or how to emulate that. Most importantly, we'll learn how to split the keyboard so that we can have this opening note on one side of the keyboard solo on the other side of the keyboard. And then finally, there's a great vibrato part on that second part where right before the guitar solo. And that's really emulated well on the Nord Stage 3. So stay tuned for the second part of this video mini-series. This is the first part, the opening note, by far an interesting sound, undeniably recognizable, especially if you are of my vintage. And I remember hearing this song for the first time as a kid and really just thinking, wow, Rush is an amazing rock group, and what great sounds, and wow, I just want to learn more, and I just want to play synthesizers. And that's really what it's all about. So join me on this video, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. And if you need to see the entire Discovery series, I'll put a link up here. You can also check out my professional training, which is found at mykeystomusic.com, where I take you on a journey. We learn the Nord Stage 3 from A to Z. Especially good if you are brand new to the world of Nord or brand new to the Stage 3. A course like this can really fast track you into learning all this stuff in the best way possible, in my opinion. Thanks, and we'll start the lesson now. Okay, Tom Sawyer the song, as reported by Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. Tom Sawyer is a song by the Canadian rock group Rush, originally released on their 1991 album Moving Pictures. As its opener, the band's lead singer and bassist Geddy Lee has referred to the track as the band's defining piece of music from the early 80s. It is one of Rush's best-known songs and a staple for both classic rock radio and Rush's live performances. It has been played on every concert tour since its release. And the song has made many appearances in television and frequently referenced in media. So go to Wikipedia, check out this song. There's a lot of interesting history here on how it came to be, where the lyrics came from, and some quotes about how they did it. Well, one interesting thing that you'll want to know as a synthesizer person is that the song came from Lee experimenting with his Oberheim OBX, so famous synthesizer from back then, and that's where this sound comes from. So let's play with this and learn about this on the Nord Stage 3. Okay, I've got my Tom Sawyer sound, or my program, loaded here on the Nord Stage 3. And I've done my best to imitate it. This one I actually did program. It took me about 15-20 minutes or so to do both the sound that you hear at the beginning of the song as well as the one on the solo part. But regardless, how did I come up with this? Well, first let's hear it by itself without any of the background music. And you'll notice that it fades in and hovers there in that low area, sort of rumbling in the background. So if you listen closely to the recording, you'll hear what I consider classic saw wave synthesis. So if I take my blank sound here, my blank program M24, and first let's turn on the synth engine, let's put the volume all the way up. And obviously, if I play just the classic sine wave that's prescribed here, that isn't going to be what we're looking for. But even if I put it on a classic saw, that isn't what we're looking for either. But I had in the back of my mind, well, the S wave, the super wave saw, has kind of a flair to that sound. So that sounded like, okay, that's the beginning of what we could use there. And so that's a good start. Now, the other thing that's happening is there's that idea of that motion happening where over time, there's an envelope happening where the decay of the sound is coming through the frequency cutoff. And that laser part of the sound that you hear is classic resonance. Almost any time you hear that laser sound, it has something to do with resonance with the filter frequency cutoff. Let me show you what I mean. I'll do it manually here. If I put the resonance up a little bit, let's say 7 or 8, and as I move that filter up and down, you can hear that classic sound that we're looking for. So how do we do that? How do we move the filter frequency so that it changes over time? That is done using this option here, the modulation envelope, which then says, okay, this bar of brothers, if you will, this envelope, this mod envelope, will now have effect over this frequency cutoff. And it will basically go from here to here. Wherever I put my knob, it'll end up putting my knob there. And then hovering there, just like that. So you're going to be playing with this knob in terms of how much modulation envelope you want to have effect. And then you're going to be using these knobs to adjust how it affects it over time. So obviously, we want the effect to start right away when the note hits. We want immediately that laser sound to come in. So attack will be 0 so that we can hear that sound come in right away. But as I hold the note, something's happening. So whenever you hold the note and you think about your envelopes when you hold the note, that always has something to do with the decay or the sustain. Now, if I had it on sustain, you would hear no difference because there's no decay. So put a little decay on there like this. And now you hear, as I hold that note, the effect of that note is what's happening is it's taking this frequency and simply doing this as I hold the note. That's all it's doing. It's doing it for me. So that's what the modulation envelope is doing against, and that's why this knob says, okay, I need more modulation envelopes. That means, okay, this is now going to have influence over that. Now, if I put it on a 10, it's going to have a dramatic effect. It's going to go all the way from 10 over here on the frequency cutoff to wherever my knob is. So listen to that. We may not want it all the way, so maybe something like that. And also note that the decay time and the amount of modulation envelope I choose have to work together, tandem. So you have to play with those back and forth. So I've got the basics here, so let me just do a quick save on this empty sound because I've saved it to the super wave here. I've got the super wave running and I've got some modulation envelope happening. So now let's dial it in very specific. So I'll go back to Tom Sawyer and I'll use my monitor copy panel, which is basically my monitoring of what's happening here. And I want to see what I ended up doing for my modulation envelope. Okay, so modulation envelope is a 10, so I do have it all the way. And then what's my filter frequency cutoff? It's a 131. So let's go set that back on my sound. We'll do a 10 over here and a 131 here. Perfect. And then save it. Okay, now you can see we're building this up little by little. Now, there's still a long way to go here before we're done with this sound. So let's go back here. Now, what else am I doing? There's a deepness to this. It almost sounds like, when I play it that way, it sounds like there's only one oscillator happening. It's kind of a thinner sound. I don't hear that broad, bold sound. It almost sounds like the sound has, the original sound here has a second octave happening. In fact, there is. what we've done here on this Tom Sawyer sound is to introduce the second oscillator with a square wave, which gives it sort of more of a rounded sound or more of a solid sound, less of a wavy sawtooth sound. And I've mixed it in such a way that it's basically 3/4 super wave and 1/4 square wave. And I've adjusted that with the modulation envelope too. So let's go see what I mean. Now let's first turn this on my sound here, and I'm going to hold the shift button and turn on oscillator 2, and we'll go to the square wave. Now let's listen to that, and I'll mix it here with my oscillator control. This mixes the two oscillators. So there's my super wave, and there's my square wave. So if I had it just on square wave, that wouldn't be correct. So I figured right about here is good. But there's also something else also happening here, so let's save that before I go too far. Let's go back to the original sound. Notice how it says sub. Okay, so let's go here and turn this sub on so that it is not playing in the same octave, it's playing an octave lower. So now my square wave is an octave lower than my super wave oscillator, and now it brings a much wider and more, it's definitely a deeper sound. Listen to this. Okay, good. So now I've got some of the depth or the range of that sound happening. Let me save it. But there's a lot more to it. Let's go see what else the Tom Sawyer sound has. Okay, well, first of all, there's the unison going on. So I've chosen a unison 2. So let's go add unison 2 to this. Here's the original, or here's what I have so far. And let's go to unison 2. Okay, it's definitely more sawtooths happening there in a sense. And the filter, I chose the LPM filter, which has a different effect and works better for the sound. That's the LP Moog filter. Save it. And what else am I doing? Well, take a look. I've also got the keyboard tracking on 1/3 and the drive on a 1. And that drive really gives it some push. So let's move the drive. Let's listen without the drive, and let's add the drive by holding the shift. There, that's better. And then let's add 1/3 keyboard tracking, which allows more frequencies there through more of the keyboard. Okay, we're getting closer here, but we're still not there yet. Let's save it. And let's go back and see what else we have to do. So I mentioned earlier that we're using the modulation envelope for the frequency cutoff, but we're also using it to dictate and drive the difference in the amount of square versus super wave. So we're also moving this knob with the modulation envelope. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let me put it back here and then turn this knob so that modulation envelope is affecting the oscillator control. Let's see. Right. So this knob moves it for me through the envelope. All right, good. Let's save that. Next, I have some effects going on. Okay, well, that's kind of a surprise. Let's go see the effects for Tom Sawyer here that I've chosen. I've got the synth invoked here over here, and I'm putting on some treble. I'm putting a lot of bass and a tiny bit of mid along with some drive. So let's look at those settings here, and then we'll imitate those. So for the treble, I've got a 8.8. For the mid, I've got a 1.5 with a 620 hertz. And the bass, I've got 11.8. So 8.8, 1.5, and 11.8. Then I also have this mid-range happening here. And if you want to learn about more how the EQ works, especially this sweepable mid-range, I do cover that in the course. I don't have a YouTube video on that particular feature. So that's 620 hertz. That's the range in which that midpoint is going to affect. So let's make that 620. There we go. All right, let's turn it on. And let's see what drive we're using here. The drive is 1.3. Okay, now let's listen to our sound. Very good. Now let's go back to the original sound here. I want to make some adjustments to this. I want to see what this is doing. So this is at a 4.8 and this is at an 8713. So this one needs to be a 4.8 and this needs to be an 8713. Save that. It feels like that laser's happening too quickly. Let's go see what the decay is on the original Tom Sawyer sound. That's a 6.15. Attack is 0.5, 6.15, and the release is 3.64. So basically 6.15 and 3.64. All right, 6.15 and 3.64. Save that. Let's listen. I think we're there. Perfect. So this is part one. For part two, stay tuned. We'll take a look at the second part of the song where we talk a little bit more about the keyboard solo and try our best to emulate that, as well as introduce that great vibrato exit right before the guitar solo. I mean, it's really an awesome part of the song. So thanks for joining me on this video. Catch me on the next one and stay tuned for more.